So in the last video I talked about like how to make components in Angular and how to like attach them to our main component, that is this our app component, and use them inside it. And like suppose this is my header component that I created. Okay, see, this is the component that I created, this is the class. And suppose instead of doing this, like creating three files like differently, we can use the Angular CLI to create a new component folder, and inside that all the files would be there. So the command is ng g for generate component, and then the component name user, I think users maybe. hmm. Mm, outside workspace. Okay, I think I have to put this here. GC users. I think this will work now. Yeah. See, this is created. So like you can see, my users component is created. So inside this, I have this user component CSS file, this HTML file. This, like, what is this? This is the TypeScript file, and this is the Angular file. Okay, so this is how we can create components with the help of Angular command line interface. So like that, by using this command, we have successfully created this user's component, and inside this we have the CSS file, HTML file, TypeScript file, and the Angular file as well. Okay, so this is how we can create the this interfaces. Sorry, components. Now, since I have added my users component, I have to like add some uh, data in it. Like firstly, the HTML file. I have to add the first column, that is the name column inside in it. So div button image should also be there, but like this, and then up inside this span name. Okay, so this is the component that I have created in HTML. Now I have to go to my app component, this file. So since I will show you what is happening in my server. So yeah, we got our name component, but it it is not perfectly styled, like it is taking too much space. Sorry. Why is that? Because both our components are like um, being called like directly here. So instead of that, what we can do, we can do one thing, like create this main tag that is used in HTML, and then we can do like make an unordered list with ID users. Okay, and then list item, and then here I will call that app users. And we can do like one thing like this. And then delete this. Okay, now what we can see, sorry, not here, we can see that it is somewhat okay. And also I added some styles in CSS component also, like here maximum width and everything. I have like, yeah, this is my user's ID that I am calling here. Okay, now I have imported like the dummy users, dummy user data, and the images of the users as well, like the dummy images. Okay, so now I have to bind these images to my what can I say, to my users component, so that whenever I call my user component, I can get like this dummy users data. So I have to write things in Angular only. So this is my users component, like then my TypeScript file, and here um, firstly I will add um, firstly I will just uh, import dummy users. hmm. Import dummy users from dummy users. Okay. This is done. Now what I have to do? I will just make a property. Suppose selected user equals to. Now what I will do here is I will call the dummy users that I imported, dummy users, and inside this I can write 0 1 2 3 4, like using that thing to call each, I call each element in my data. Okay, suppose 0 is there. Okay, and here what we will do, like uh, we have to call some random users, not just a single users that we want. So to randomize that, I will create a variable random index. Okay, it is already giving me that suggestion. I think that is what I want to do. Main.floor, main.random. Okay, I will call this and then users dot length. Okay, so what I will do is now I will yeah, define random index here, and then now when I open my thing, instead of name, and I refresh it, why is it not coming? Oh, I forgot one thing, like in the HTML file I have to call it, because without calling how can it will come. So instead of name, I will be using that string manipulation. Then here inside this two curly braces I will call my selected user property, and then anything that I want to use from my dummy users data, suppose avatar ID or name. So I will just select name. So now it is done, and now when I open, you can see Priya Patel, some random names are coming every time I refresh it. Okay, so this is done now. Now coming to the next thing, now we have to like add our avatar, that is image as well, um, to the names of the users. So for that I'll be using uh, another thing that is called property binding, which is in this Angular. So we can do by using this string interpolation as well, but mm, for like for adding an image, property binding should be done. So what happens in that is, like, suppose src, this is our property. So this our property, the property that is inside our image tag, we would bind, like we will surround it using the square brackets, and inside it we will call our avatar. So suppose selected user dot avatar, I think, yeah, selected users dot avatar. So here I'm calling my avatar, and also like my images are stored in this users tag, so I have to like concatenate that as well. So in TypeScript we can do that easily. Sorry, yeah, in TypeScript, in Angular we can do that easily. uh, Here I will call that assets folder, assets slash users slash, and then these both will concatenate, and then at last I have to like bind, write this alt property as well. Inside this I will call selected user name. Okay, this is done now. So when I open my application, I can see the names are coming, sorry, the names as well as the images are also coming when I refresh it. Okay, so this is done now. Now coming to the next thing, like as I use this property binding, so it is a key feature in Angular that allows us to bind element properties to dynamic value. As as Angular helps us to like create a dynamic website, so it is an important property. So like suppose here I use this thing binds the src property of the underlying HTML image element. Okay, this curly braces uh, DOM object to the value stored in some src. Okay, so this some src value will get bind to this sr source, that is the source property. So this is how we can do. While it might look like you are binding the src attribute of the image tag, you are actually not doing that. Instead, property binding really targets the underlying DOM object property. Okay, so this is what like this attribute binding, property binding is. Okay, so like now when we go to our website, okay, this is an error is coming, you can see. Where it is coming, users of component.ts. Okay, component.ts. What I have done here, why is it giving this error? Okay, this will also come. Now we can see we are getting the same result, but with a better code. Better understandable and readable code here in our component section. So this is how we can use the getters as well. Now I'm going to talk about like how to add an event listener. So like in my user component HTML file, in front of this button I have just uh, written this brackets, and inside this I will be adding like which event listener I want to use. Suppose I have used here click type. So if I remove this and then control space, I get the amount of like all the properties of event lister that I can use. So suppose here I choose click. So on clicking I want to see the change, and also I want to like I want to change I want to change on UI as well on clicking. So on select user, what is this on select user? In my this TypeScript file, Angular file, I have like added a method on select user. Okay, this is my method. So this on like this means that it will be used when we are using like after the event is happening. So it will be used after that. So this is the const. I have like copied this thing here to get the random index. So what I want to do is on clicking I want to like change every time I want a new person here, a random person here to get changed. So for that I have created this thing method and then I'm calling this selected user, and then I'm changing its value, like doing the same thing. Okay, on clicking, and here I have called my event listener. This I have called my method. Okay, so now on UI what will happen is on clicking I can see that the user is changing every time. So this is how we can do that. So there is also a zone.js file that Angular is using in the background to detect the change. Like suppose user is clicking in this component, so it checks for change in each component. So this zone.js file Angular is using in the background. So that's how Angular detects the change. So other than that zone.js thing, uh, the latest Angular version uses signals. So what are signals? Signals are trackable data containers. A signal is an object that stores a value and it has a value including nested object. So suppose a change is made in that value. So like when a change occurs, Angular is then able to update the part of that UI that needs updating. Okay, so like it is a very fast way and a better way. Suppose change occur in a component. Mm, so it will give a signal to this any value, and then like Angular then updates that part of the UI. So that's how Angular helps us, and the signal thing also helps us. It is available on after like Angular 16 versions. So like here in my user components typescript file, here I have imported this signal thing as well. Okay, now in my selected user dummy user thing, I want to like add this thing in the signal thing. So this is how it is done. Now why should we use the signal property instead of the normal thing that I have used before? Because signal it only signals to the part that we use, that we are using, like the selected user is our signal. So whenever the change is happening in this selected user, then only we call the signal, and then only we like check for any change in that selected class or selected like template only. So the normal zone.js file that Angular uses, it checks for like changes in every component, so that is hectic and more power consuming and time consuming as well. So it's better to use signal now. So here I have like defined this. One more thing I have to add, like computed. Okay, so what does computed do? Instead of using this get method while using signal, we like so, so image path equals to computer, and then this thing like a function, arrow function, and then our this path, and we have to use this thing. So instead of using this get method, we can use this computed thing to store, like to call the data, to get the data. Okay, and here we have to do one change, like instead so this set, we will use this set method to call our signal. Okay, here I have defined this computed method to like access the data. Okay, and then in my typescript, sorry, HTML file, I have to make some changes, like instead of this I have to call it as a function, because I'm using it like as a computed value, this thing here, so I have to use it as a function. So like we have to change this selected user also, we have to call it as a function, because we are using it as a signal, so we have to call it as a function. So this is done now. We getting any errors? No, I'm not getting any errors. This avatar thing is okay. we can see this like our image path is also a signal. Okay. Mm, uh, this selected user we are using it as a this is a signal, so we have to call it as a function here, and then here it should be name only. Okay, I think now it will work. Yeah, so same thing is happening, but now we are using signals instead of the traditional like zone.js thing. So it will depend on the developers, like how they will use. So we will learn this further about this in like further sections.